Hi guys, it's Tip of the Week Tuesday, and I'm here today to talk to you about the hardest part of the epidural. As you make your labor plans, you're going to have to determine whether you want to go all natural or if you want to do some sort of pain medication. If you opt for the epidural, I want to let you in on a little secret. Now, I worked in OB for 6 years as an L&D nurse. So here's something that a lot of ladies don't know. Ladies who choose to get the epidural will sometimes show up thinking that they can walk in the door saying, I'm in pain, I want the epidural, and it will happen immediately. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So here's what I want to tell you. When you get to the hospital, they are going to want to put you on the monitor. They're going to want to check on your baby. They're going to want to check your vital signs. They're going to want to get some urine samples. They're going to want to get some blood samples. The anesthesiologist has to know what your platelet count is before they can do the epidural. So all of those lab results have to be back first. In addition to that, they have to start an IV. You have to get 1 to 2 liters of fluid in your system before the epidural because it's got a potential to drop your blood pressure. And if it drops mom's blood pressure, then it could potentially drop baby's blood pressure. The process of getting the IV started, plus getting that 1 to 2 units of fluid in, can take up to an hour. Not to mention, anesthesiologists might or might not be immediately available. Now, in some larger hospitals, the OB units have in-house anesthesiologists, which is great. But in a lot of the smaller hospitals, the anesthesiologist covers both the OR and OB. So what happens is, if that anesthesiologist is in a case, or if they happen to be at home and have to be called in, that can be even a lengthier process. So here's what you need to understand. If you're wanting an epidural for your labor, arrive at the hospital before you're so uncomfortable that you can't stand it anymore, and request it earlier than you might think that you need it. Now, I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, like you might want to wait until you reach that point where you absolutely need the epidural, but if you do that, realize that you are going to have to deal with that level of labor contractions for another hour plus. So if that's the case, if you wind up at the hospital at a point where you're feeling like you can't handle it anymore, you need to go ahead and prepare yourself with a system of coping with those kind of labor contractions. Whether you choose hypnobirthing, whether you choose Lamaze, whether you choose the Bradley way, or some other form of having a support person there who can help you to focus and breathe and just work through those contractions, have that plan in place, even if you're planning on getting an epidural during labor. So a lot of ladies will say, oh, the hardest part of the epidural is probably having to sit still, or it's probably having them put the medication in my back, or I can't stand needles. No, that's not the issue. It's not a big deal at all. The issue is the time that you have to wait from the time that you say you want an epidural to the time that you actually get relief from the epidural. In addition to that wait time, the epidural setup time can take up to a half an hour for it to take effect. So once they get the medication into the catheter in your back, then it takes time for that medication to saturate the nerves and actually help you to feel numb. So that's just a little tip from an OB nurse so that you know what you're getting into if you choose to have the epidural.